right, here we go. Michael Jai White, welcome back.
Yeah, he's back again.
Back again after a few months.
Yeah, it's been
a few months.
Yeah, about half a year, something like that, right?
Maybe? Not half a year.
No?
Maybe I think December, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, 2021. I don't think you've done one yet, but
okay.
Here we are.
First one of the year.
Here we are.
All right.
Here we are. You're looking good. Looking in shape. You know,
getting ready.
You caught COVID at one point.
Yes, I did. Had COVID. My whole family. We went through it and got through it.
Got through it.
Yeah. It was couple of hard days. Like 2-3 hard days for me. I should not be complaining because it was harder for my wife. She had it kind of hard.
Right. Yeah. I was actually hanging out at your house the
day
before.
Right after we got done with it, you came, right?
Right. Well, no, before.
You came before, right.
No, you called me the next day and say, by the way,
that's right.
I got COVID. I'm
that's right. I had to tell you. And you weren't too worried for some reason.
Well, I didn't. Yeah. I felt fine. I didn't have any symptoms or whatever else.
Yeah.
And you and I were socially distanced relatively at your house.
Yeah. You brought food, right?
Yeah.
You got the guys from the chicken joint.
The chicken spot.
Yeah, we was kicking it outside.
I Papa Rico.
Yeah, and it was like something like 4 or 5 days later, we had the vid.
Yep.
Yeah, man. So you ducked that one.
Well, I remember in the interview we did right before then, you said that you weren't really interested in taking the vaccine.
Right.
But then you caught it.
Yeah.
And then you were very interested in taking the vaccine.
Well, what it is was I was going to be the number 3 millionth person to take it. I wasn't going to be first in line. So, I wanted to sit back, like a lot of people wanted to see what was going to happen, any side effects, anything like that. I got a lot of friends who are doctors, did some research and stuff, enough for me to feel comfortable enough to take it.
Right. Because, well, number one, how bad was your case of COVID?
Not bad at all. I should not even be complaining. It was like 3 bad days for me. And it was really not, I had like flu symptoms, but the thing was I lost my sense of smell and that freaked me out. That's when I realized I had it. See, and peep this because this is very important. So learn, please people learn from this. I went and, me and my wife got COVID tests, right? Turned out negative. 3 days later is when I started feeling like this. And then I lost my sense of smell. We both lost our sense of smell. And we were like, hell with that negative COVID test. I know I got it because why else would I not be able to smell anything? My wife sprayed some Lysol and I was like, what is this, fragrance-free Lysol? And she's like, wait a minute. We're checking, we're smelling perfume, all that type of stuff. Then we go out to the gas tank and smell the gas tank like a bunch of crazy people. And we can't smell the gas. So we shot to a clinic. Well, went to my ex-wife, and she gave us a COVID test, as she's a doctor. So turns out we were positive. And so that's what's a trip because we were sequestered. We was in the house. We were pretty much quarantined. And we were being pretty careful. Went from a negative test, didn't go anywhere, to a positive test.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's tricky. So it's got to get in your system for a while before you even know it. So that's what I try to tell my friends because when they're like, I tested negative or whatever, I'm like, yeah, but you could have had it a week ago. So it's tricky.
Well, you actually end up getting vaccinated.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which one did you get?
I got the Pfizer.
The Pfizer, which is considered the creme de la creme.
Okay.
Well, that and Moderna are kind of neck and neck. I think Pfizer might have like 1 or 2 percentage points higher.
Okay.
So when you took it, any side effects?
No. I felt a little like what would I say? I got tired.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little like kind of lethargic. The second or third day, my wife, the second day was kind of jacked. She had like kind of aches, but that was like for a half a day. But yeah, so it was like it dissipated. 3-4 days later, I guess we were back to normal.
Does it feel better now to walk around in the world outside your house knowing that you're vaccinated?
For me, I felt like I was pretty confident anyway because I just had COVID. So it would have been hard for me to get it again. So, just making sure that we had the vaccination and got the card. I know I got to travel and I got to do all that type of stuff. it's a necessary thing that I had to do because I got to get on planes. I think there's going to be a requirement after a while.
Right. They're doing vaccine passports.
Yeah.
I think New York is launching an app with that because there's unique numbers that are tied to your name now in a database for people who took the vaccine. And you may be required to have, show on your app that you've been vaccinated in order to fly, go to certain events, maybe even hold certain jobs. And
let me
honestly,
tell you,
I'm here for it.
Yeah,
I'm cool with that.
I understand people who have a problem with it. Of course, I understand. I mean, nobody wants to be told what to do.
Yeah.
And be forced into something. And it says, hey, trust me. Like, there's a lot of reasons not to trust the government and everything. Of course.
Very true.
And, it's like, I weighed this out. And, but I sympathize with anybody who has an issue, right? It's not cut and dry to me. I had to really basically, swallow some concerns and go, okay, I'm going to weigh it all. And I'm going to take this chance. And I think I did the right thing. I'm still researching. I still research this thing. I got doctors who are for it, against it. Naturopaths, I know a lot of people who are doing alternative medicine. I know some of the heads of the A4M. If you look that up, that's like a whole conglomerate of doctors that are, kind of outside the box. That's really dedicated to cures and not, the pharmaceutical of just, treating your symptoms and keeping you on the train for a long time, So yeah, I get it, and I get people's problems with it, and I get why it's smart to get it done.
Well, at this point, 350 million people worldwide have gotten at least one dose.
Right.
135 million people are fully vaccinated. So if you're worried that you're being part of an experiment, that's no longer the case.
Yeah, right.
350, a third of a billion people have already been experimented before you.
Yeah, and my brothers and sisters, stop thinking about the racial component of it because they can't divide it by that. I think it's always a rich-poor thing. People should be concerned with a rich-poor delineation, not a black-white situation, because there's no way that any place is going to know what color of people are going to show up. It would be too crazy to try to, delineate between that. Like they out to get you. Nah, they can't do that in this situation. Right. I know people say, you naive. You supposed to think that way because some people you grow up that way. Believe me, I know those people. I'm part of those people. So I get the conspiratorial, and I get the distrust of everybody.
Yeah, and people try to say, well, the people who are out in the sun, they're naturally protected against it. But then look at Brazil, which is one of the most beach-going countries on earth.
There's all this
and it's horrible in Brazil. Brazil has one of the worst COVID rates on the planet.
It is the worst. It's the worst.
The
right
worst.
Now.
That's what I'm saying.
In Thailand, and that's hot. That's another super
exactly.
hot place.
So you can't say it has anything to do with being out in the sun or being healthy or being in shape. Because listen, I've been to Brazil a bunch of times. These people are in shape. They go to the gym. They they go to the beach. They love their bodies.
Good food. Yeah.
And they're being slaughtered over there.
Nowadays, man, people can argue like endlessly. When it comes down to it, to me, there's always a simple solution. I could argue with, I'm too old to be arguing endlessly about anything. When it came down to it, I got to travel. I'm gonna make this money for my family. Okay, there's a risk that I'm taking. Fine, but I think the odds are in my favor. I took the vaccine, all right?
Yeah.
And okay, if you don't take the vaccine, fine. and I'm a chump for taking it. Fine. So all of us 300 and some odd million people will be vanished, and you got the world. So you the smart one.
It's all yours.
Yeah, it's all yours. So you won. And it's like, hey, just look forward to your victory.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can't go to certain schools if you're not vaccinated as a child.
Yeah.
And if you want to have an alternative school where everyone is not vaccinated together, that's cool. I have no problems because some people I know are just sort of anti-Western medicine.
Yeah.
They don't want to take Tylenol. They don't want to go see a Western doctor. They'd rather try to have their body heal naturally. They want to take herbs and so forth. And there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm partially one of those people.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. I get with it because almost every dissension, every argument has the truth in it. I don't care. Unless you're a complete fool, you got some truth in your argument, right? So that's the thing. Some people kind of protect their little piece of truth as if it's 100%. You might be 30% like in your argument, and that's all you're thinking about. But you ain't thinking about the 70% that I'm trying to talk about. So that's really what's happening. It's like everybody's right to some degree. So yeah, there's things where, man, they're getting you. Like there's so many. Oh man, I could spend the whole show talking about the pharmaceutical things and all the nutrients and all that type of stuff. That's a game that, you know, you're buying this and it don't even go into your bloodstream. And, you know, I'm going to sell you a nutrient that you take. Your body's not going to absorb it. Mm-hmm. But I still sold you the nutrient, right? But so it's like, I know a lot of that stuff. I know a lot of the game.
Oh, yeah.
But I can't say that all of it's that way.
Right. I mean, listen, there's definitely a placebo effect when it comes to medicine. I remember at around from about age 23 till 28 or so, I lost a ton of weight. I went from like 220 to 165. You know, like I weigh about 205 now. So think about me, you know.
220 to 165?
Yeah, 40 pounds lighter. You know, think about me 40 pounds lighter than I am now. So think about how skinny.
What happened? What was that?
Well, here's the thing. I went to every doctor and they said, oh, you know, certain doctors said I was allergic to dairy. Certain doctors said that I was allergic to wheat. You know, doctors said I had this, I had that. No one was really sure. No one really came up with a good reason. And at one point I just realized, you know something, it's kind of all in my head. I'm listening to all these people and I'm always worried, and that's causing me to worry about what I eat. So I'm not eating and I'm worrying and so forth. And one day I said, I bet this is all bullshit. I bet you I can eat dairy and I bet you I could eat bread and whatever else. And I just started going back to eating it. And then my health just came back. My weight came back. And I realized it's all in my head. And it was very much a learning experience where I learned that, look, what's going on in your head can make you physically sick.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So absolutely. If you're thinking positively, if you feel like you're healthy, you feel like you're doing the right thing, you're going to be healthy. If you feel like you're sick and you have some sort of, you know, disease that's going to kill you, you're going to end up manifesting that in your body. Yeah. But at the end of the day, certain medicines do actually work.
Yeah. So, you know? but it's all connected to that whole thing I was just saying, is that there's varying degrees of legitimacy on that. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's a certain point where you can heal yourself, but there's a ceiling to that.
Yeah.
So it's like, I was, you know, by my thinking this way, by positive, you know, reinforcement, and I can do certain things, but you can't kind of bet the whole farm on that.
Yeah.
So everything is to a degree, man, like yin and yang.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that people, you know, are still mad at me about is that at one point I said that Dr. Sebi is as much of a doctor as Dr. Dre. Mm-hmm. And people got, oh, how dare you insult our great healer like that. And, you know, Sebi claimed that he could cure AIDS and cure cancer and claimed that he had all these people that, you know, he's cured and he's got paperwork and so forth. But the reality is this, okay? And this is what it came down to with the vaccine, is that if you have a cure for something, you go through phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 trials. You have a small number of people, which grows to, you know, 40 or 50,000 people. Half the people are given placebos. Half the people are given the actual drug. It's all carefully monitored. And then once you're done, those numbers, those stats get turned over to a peer review. So other scientists go and review what it is that you made to make sure that everything looks consistent. Because sometimes the numbers look funny. They'll say, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. And then after the peer review, then it goes to the FDA for them to go and have another group of scientists to go along with it. So anyone who's claiming to be a healer, and and be able to cure certain things, just go through that process and show that what you do actually works, and you could be the savior as the guy who cured AIDS or the guy who cured or the girl who cured cancer. That's all good, but these people never want to go through this process, and they have these followers who are usually anti-vaxxers at that, and you kind of go into this kind of rabbit hole that you kind of just want to get out of.
Some people want to create a messiah. It's nice to believe that somebody has that power, and that's the thing about it's just human beings. It's all about them, really, because being in the part of the martial arts world, I've seen it all my life. People want to believe that this person can float and this person can do this or that, and people want to believe that I can do that. Right. There's people who I swear up and down that they saw me do these amazing things when I used to fight in the streets and all that. Like I jumped over a bus and it's stuff that, even when I try to talk them down, I'm like, yo, man, I did not jump over a bus. No, I saw you. Because it's important to them to have that belief of something. Like when I talk, that whole thing of Bruce Lee, it's important for people to believe that he cannot possibly be beaten. I understand. I get it. There's certain things that I benefit from you believing that stars are better or all this kind of stuff. It's about the human beings themselves. And they want to go, yeah, this person was right about that. Look at Nostradamus. Nostradamus, man, he was right about this. Right. But nobody's asking about how many things was he wrong about?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
What if Nostradamus was like 20% right about it?
And that's a typical conspiracy theory thing. Like when you look at the QAnon thing, right? It's like all the QAnon followers who ended up storming the Capitol building ultimately. Like Q would post up these cryptic messages. And 95% of them are wrong. But there'll be one thing once a month. They're like, oh, look.
Exactly.
He said tip top and then Trump said tip. Oh, it's all connected.
All you got to do is make, you make like 100 predictions a day. How much are you going to be right? So I write down these 100 predictions, and the ones that I'm right, I'm going to get credit for. Ain't nobody going to know about the other ones. You know what I mean? Nobody cares about that because there's somebody who wants to be fed that there's some magic. I mean, hey, to each his own. Yep. People want to believe in that magic. They want to believe their stars are beyond reproach. That because this person made this record, they're not capable of this horrible crime. And it's just like, it's amazing when you sit there and you go, what does lyrics and singing have to do with, like, you know what I mean? This person like raping or what, I'm not mentioning anybody because it applies to everybody. Hey, it's just the way it is. And that's just the world, but it's more about the people who are worshiping more than anything else.
Yeah. And the conspiracy theorists, they will find that one instance and they will exaggerate it and blow it up and meme it out, and it'll run through. Like, for example, Marvin Hagler, who recently died.
Yeah.
We actually messed up and reported that he was in ICU fighting the effects of getting vaccinated for COVID. Because that story was running around.
Right.
We come to find out that Thomas Hearns was the one that put that story up, who was like a competitor, who was kind of like the rival of Hagler, like his whole life. And the story was fake. Like Hagler's wife had to come forward and say, no, this isn't true. He didn't die from taking the vaccine.
Brother, the moment that that statement came out that Hearns said that he died from the vaccine, I had friends sending me that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so you got to figure, they want to believe this. That's why they're sending me this.
Of course.
So you're cherry picking what you want. And that's it's just rampant nowadays. And my friend sends me this, and Hearns said this. I'm going, which Tommy Hearns, the boxer or the scientist doctor Tommy Hearns? What are you talking about? Why would you send me this? You know what I mean? So I'm supposed to go, you right, man. Tommy Hearns, you can't argue with Tommy Hearns. I know Tommy Hearns. It turns out he didn't say that, but just think about the leap of logic that is. That's your. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's crazy.
Well, the president of Tanzania, John Magufuli, who told all citizens to pray away COVID, ended up dying at age 61. Mm. You know, so you have, I mean, these things go at the highest level.
Yeah.
At the very highest level. Mm. And listen, at the end of the day, man, if you don't want to take the vaccine, don't take it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. You know,
there's massive lines of people who want to take it. So at this point, I don't even care.
Yeah, but think about it. The anti-vaccine people speak loudest. Like they, it's like, hey, keep it to yourself. Like, cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not like I'm running around yelling, get vaccinated. Like, but the people who are anti-vaccinated, what do you call it? Anti-vaxxers?
Anti-vaxxers, yeah.
Yeah, anti-vaxxers. Like, why do you care if I get a vaccine? No, you know, chill out. I ain't your child. So I kind of see you control your area, you know? So when somebody's so passionately against something, that speaks about you're tripping. You know, keep it over there. Like, it's fine for you. Don't take it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like,
and honestly, you know, I'm going to say this. We're going to get off the topic. Honestly, what I truly believe is that 95% of the anti-vaxxers are secretly going and getting vaccinated themselves because they usually have a platform for being an anti-vaxxer, and being, you know, for them to go back on that will sort of crumble whatever they've built up over time on social media. So
I just think they're just contrary folks. That the world says, you know, a bunch of people going this, they'll be like, the first one to be like, I think they'll be like that with everything. I think it's probably a consistent thing. That's a character thing, I feel.
Well, yeah. You know? I mean, Juicy J did a tweet about, you shouldn't take the vaccine. You should just wear a mask and eat healthy. And it's like, Juicy J, the guy that spent most of his career talking about doing cocaine and drinking lean? Where do you think that stuff comes from? You think the FDA approved the cocaine you sniffed up in the 90s? Who knows where that shit comes from? Who knows what that's mixed with?
Come on now. The streets is absolutely all about, yo, man, let me tell you I mean, of course, everybody wants to be like
that guy.
You know, yeah, everybody does, man. So it's just a character thing. That's you got to expect that. You know, people got to speak contrarily about everything. You know, or it's boring.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, it comes with the territory.
Well, right now, the Derek Chauvin case is underway. You know, the guy who killed George Floyd. If you were to predict what's going to happen in terms of his sentencing, do you think he's going to get off with it, get a light sentence, or get a heavy sentence?
I don't know. I've been arm's length from that thing. There's something wrong with me. Certain things bother me to such a degree that it may change the course of how I'm thinking about other stuff. And that disturbs me to such a level that I don't want to, you know, I haven't been following it closely. It's too internal for me, you know. I've still never watched the footage. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I watched what's in my head is so bad.
I watched a few seconds, but I couldn't bring myself to watch the whole thing.
I can't do that.
It was just too horrific. Yeah.
I know, you know, who I used to be, and I had anger issues, and it's something I dealt with the rest of my life, and I know where I could go, and how consuming that kind of thing is, and I know I hate bullies. I hate the innocent being hurt, like probably worse than anybody else, and that's why I protect myself from seeing too much. You know, it takes me to a dark place.
Yeah, I mean, I've been following it somewhat. The saddest part about this whole thing is how unnecessary the entire chain of events was. I mean, this guy came in, George Floyd came into the shop, and they know him there. He goes in there to pay his phone bill and whatever else. People know him there. He gave him $20, and the clerk was like, "Oh, I think this is fake." I've passed off fake money on accident before as well. It's not like George Floyd had a counterfeiting operation that they uncovered where he was making billions of dollars. He just happened to have a $20 bill that may or may not have been fake. And what I found out by following the trial was that the asshole guy who owned the shop told his employees that if they take fake money, that comes out of their paycheck, which is completely illegal.
Vlad, I'm trying not to even listen to you right now.
Okay.
I'm telling you, man. It's like, it ain't going to do me no good, man.
Okay.
It ain't going to do me no good.
Well, I'll just say this without going into any more details. What I really hope is that the Derek Chauvin gets life in prison, which will ultimately send a message to police around the country that there are very serious implications for doing something like this. Because up until this point, essentially every cop has gotten away with it. From Rodney King to everyone else after that and before that. Especially before that, before the cameras were out. So if Derek ends up getting life in prison, I think every single cop is going to think 2, 3, 4, 5 times before pulling out that gun or pulling out that baton or standing on someone's neck or whatever else. That's what I'm truly hoping for. And I'm hoping the jury makes the right choice in this particular case, because we've seen them make the wrong choice time and time again. And we've also seen them, for example, the really heartbreaking thing. Remember the girl, Latasha, who got killed?
Ireland?
Yeah. There's a documentary about her on Netflix. Did you watch it?
Didn't have to. I mean, I know all about it.
You know the story, right?
Yeah.
So this girl goes into this, I think it was a Korean-owned, corner store. The Korean woman behind the counter thought that she had stole a $2 orange juice. She had the money in her hand. She grabbed her bag. They started to kind of fight a little bit, and she pulled out a gun and shot her in the back of the head.
Yeah, I know.
Now, here's the interesting part about this. This went to trial. The jury found her guilty. And then the judge essentially gave her a slap on the wrist. And that's what triggered, that's what set the stage for the Rodney King riots. Because LA was so upset about that already, is that when they saw the Rodney King videotape, it was just like, all right, fuck this. Fuck this. But yeah, I didn't even know the whole story until I went back and looked at it and started researching it. And it's like, I don't know what the fuck this judge was thinking to do that. It makes absolutely no sense to give. I mean, she got a community service for shooting a black girl in the back of the head.
Dude, sometimes people don't think of us as human beings, man. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. You notice, like, if you really pay attention to even what's going on right now, right? God help them. The Stop Asian Hate. I mean, come on, this is absolutely wrong. But I want you to notice one thing. That Stop Asian Hate, you go, okay, similar to Black Lives Matter, right? But what's different? There's no white opposition to Stop Asian Hate at all. You don't hear anything. If for the history of black people trying to stand up for each other, for the history of saying black is beautiful, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. Well, wait a minute. But no, all lives, Stop Asian Hate. Okay.
Yeah, nobody's
saying stop all hate.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
So it's like,
yeah, you're right.
I'm just going, this is a very teachable moment. We could learn something here. It's right in front of us right now. Stop Asian Hate. I don't hear nothing. Nothing. Why are people so comfortable when black people say, stop killing us, stop? No, we have to chime in on your matters. Why is that? is there a thing with this? You think you own us, or is it the fear of retribution for what you've done? Let's be honest. It's a teachable subject. It's a teachable time.
Yeah.
So I would like people to ask themselves, all the people who said, no, all lives matter. What are you saying? What was your first thought when they said, stop Asian hate? What did you think? Did you go, of course, that's terrible for what's happening to Asians. But when you heard Black Lives Matter, what was your next thought? Wait a minute. Why would you dare oppose that?
Yeah. No, that's a excellent point. You're right. I've never heard someone say stop all hate.
Right.
It sounds stupid when you say it out
It
loud.
would sound as stupid as all lives matter.
Yeah.
Or battered husbands.
Yeah.
All buildings matter. You know, that whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, nobody likes to be pointed at or whatever. It's like, it's not about this thing. I just say, let's stop and just observe what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And so everybody can just like, instead of just, being on defense of offense, just let's absorb and say, okay, why is it different?
Well, I think you have to recognize your own prejudices. Like, for example, a regular on my guest, China Mac, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chinese guy. When I interviewed him last time, I was telling him about a personal situation I had. A few months ago, I went to Mexico, got on a plane for the first time since the pandemic. And I'm coming back, and as we're coming off the plane, there's a plane from China that had just landed also. So all of these Chinese people were kind of walking in through customs at the same time as us. And I remember my first instinct was like, oh, they're Chinese. That's where the Wuhan virus, that's where COVID started. Oh man, let me put my mask on tight and so forth. And I had to think for a second and say, wait a minute. China has almost no COVID rates. Like their COVID rates are like nothing right now. They did it
without the vaccine, which is interesting.
Most of people with COVID are American.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting here on my bullshit,
right,
scared of them when they should be scared of me.
Right,
and I had to really just check myself, like, I'm tripping right now. I'm going along with this bullshit Trump Chinese virus like type thing, and like, I had to like literally 5 seconds later, I had to check myself, like, this type of thinking is what's causing the problem. So let me just get off this and stop being on that bullshit and realize that it's very easy to fall into this narrative.
Fear makes you do that kind of stuff. It's a lot of this is about fear.
Yeah.
This
basically, yeah.
All, the bad behavior, the prejudice, all that type of stuff is connected to fear.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. What did you think about the Oprah interview with Harry and Meghan?
I didn't watch it.
You didn't watch it?
I never thought, I never gave a shit or a damn about royalty. It's like, to me, it's like, do you? But the think that I'm better than you because I was born into something is like the opposite of my brain. Like, I'm like, fuck you and all connecting flights to your ass. That is like, I think that's where like most prejudice is birthed. In that kind of
from birth, yeah,
that kind of idea. So I rebel against that. Prince, what? Pfft, don't. No, I would. You may not believe me, but if I was invited to the castle, I wouldn't go because I have to live with myself. Ain't no way in hell I'm gonna be bowing down to somebody because they was born. I give a damn about that. Like, really. So it's like, it's almost laughable to me. It's funny. But if that's what you're into, that's another religion that I'm not part of. So it's just like, I feel great for y'all, but just don't include me. Yeah. I'm good. Don't stick me in front of some prince or whatever. I ain't gonna call you prince nothing. The way I look at it, and it touches on what another thing. Like, as you know, the whole thing, the whole royalty thing that I was connected to And when I was like, wait a minute, and then I realized there were kings and queens in Africa way before there were in Europe. And I'm like, started to weigh them all out. Why am I going to be worshiping some goddamn king that came later?
Yeah. And it's really like the ultimate form of racism.
That's what I'm saying.
Is the royalty system. Because what I think most Americans don't realize is that in England, okay, you have the queen and then you might have the king if she dies, whatever else, right? Not really a political position anymore. You know, the queen does not make laws, does not pass bills, whatever else. You think, oh, okay, right, it's really a democratic system. Until you look at the actual system in the UK, and it's a two-house system with the House of Commons and the House of Lords. Now, the House of Commons, which is sort of a derogatory term, you know, you're a commoner, are people who are actually elected. But the House of Lords are all people that have a bloodline of royalty.
Right, yeah.
So essentially, people with that bloodline are still involved in the running of the country. So England is still on that bullshit, no matter how you slice it.
Hey, that's your country. I respect that. That's great for y'all. Again, like, that's just not me. I didn't grow. I rail against everything that's about, about somebody being above you because of
how they're born.
Yeah. And just like, so I have a little bit of issue, and, there's certain other societies that have this hierarchy type of thing that I kind of like, hey, I'm not going to,
the caste system in India.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
So, I go, okay, I respect it, but don't bring me into that. Or if you expect me to kowtow to somebody and say that you are above me, that's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah. And one of the things that was really focused on in that interview with Oprah was that Meghan mentioned that one of the royal family members, and she wouldn't say who, made a comment about being concerned about the baby's skin color, like how dark the baby might be. Because this would be the first biracial royal baby, essentially. And it's like, who?
It's amazing that this really kind of stupidity is still still going on. Like, this child is here because of its skin color. Is that really what you're talking about? Well, you got to be old to be still stuck in that kind of thing. And I go, these people are going to die out, and hopefully this kind of attitude of, because of your skin color, you are somewhere lower. It should be laughable now. It should just be ridiculous. There's too much proof to where it's ridiculous. And my philosophy is like, hey, I like to be wrong, because every time I'm wrong, I learn something, right? So I have posed your issue, and you can teach me that I'm missing something. I'm all for it. Like, there was a time I think I told you about the time where I was talking to it was about 10 white supremacists in a group. And I was excited to talk to them because I had never talked to any white supremacists before. They were passing out these cards, and they, it was around a bunch of people. They skipped me. I'm like, what was that about? And my white friend was like, no, you don't want to know. I'm like, no, let me check it out. Turned out there's like this loyal order of what they go. I was like, oh shoot, they were about to get back in their van. I was like, yo, I stopped them to talk to them, right? Because I swear, I never met anybody like that, right? I didn't have no fear behind it because I know they're wrong. First of all, I already know that it's crazy, but I wanted to find out, how do grown men wind up spending their time on this much hate? And when I got them, I tricked them into talking, because I was like, first they wanted to deny it, but I was like, how you going to, represent yourself and then you don't want to speak your piece? And they were like, okay. And they wanted to go head to head with me. It was cool. It was cool. First of all, they learned something that we both learned something, because I was a little shocked about this, because they were like, hey man, you can't tell me that it is not more crime in the black communities than white communities. And it was talking about how, it's just like, the death rate, murder and all that type of stuff. And I'm like, Yeah, proportionally. Like if you're talking about like statistically, where we're coming from, a degradation and slavery and everything else. Yeah, naturally things are going to change. But let me ask you a question. I said, where's the crime rate highest in the white communities? And it's like, and I saw like, is that not in the trailer parks and the the places where is low income and low education? You're like, yeah. And I said, well, let me ask you another question. Do you think rich black people or middle class black people rob and steal? They said no. I said, wait a second. Please repeat that. And he says, I said, you're saying that rich black people do not steal from each other. And they're like, no. I was like, I'm serious. Like, it freaked me out because I go, well, where's your racism? Because what you're telling me is that crime is indicated, it's prevalent in the low income and undereducated communities, whether it's white or black. That's exactly what you're telling me. And silence. They're like, what are you saying? So because if you were truly racist, you'd be saying rich black people rob from each other and rob other people because they can't help because it's in their genetic makeup. So these people thought they were holding up this racial thing when they were just talking about a statistic that nobody could argue. Yeah, if there are more percentage-wise poor black people, yeah, then uneducated per capita because of the history of being, of course, denigrate all that type of stuff. Well, whether the reasons or not, and we could talk about the reasons, but you're saying it's socioeconomic. And then I asked him a question. And sometimes your victory is just in the silence after you ask the question. I said, all black people don't rob from each other. I said, rich black people don't rob from each other. He said, right. I said, do rich white people rob from each other? Silence. There was this little moment where they went, right? Because he had to think about it. Not trying to put up a racial argument or whatever, but to get this person to think about it for a second, that little eye movement from like that was golden. But the true thing is, the deeper thing is later on in the conversation I talked about, because he talked about the whole racial of the biblical like reasons for for slavery, like the justifications for it. And I asked him, I said, okay, you're talking about Christ and this and that and Jesus and how what's the I forgot the passage about honor your masters. It's something in that thing. I'm like, cool. Well, I set him up with this. I said, well, how would you feel if a black person moved in your neighborhood? So no, we wouldn't like that. We think people should live in their own neighborhoods. I was like, okay. How about if a Middle Eastern guy moved in your neighborhood? Same thing. No, wouldn't be welcome. I said, so what you're telling me is a Middle Eastern guy, say from Jerusalem, comes back and moves in your neighborhood. What do? Do you burn a cross in his yard? And just making them think about it. When I say comes back from Jerusalem, would you welcome the man that you're literally justifying your prejudice off the teachings of Jesus, who you wouldn't accept in your community? And the silence that came from there, that's what you go after. For me, you get people to think. You don't say you're wrong, because they're never going to hear you. Yeah. You get them to think in another way. And they ended up talking about, well, what about black people? Well, not you, but I'm like, wait a second. No. What do you mean not me? No, you're not just black. You're mixed with something else. It's like, wait a minute. So you got to, because your narrative of what black people are, now I'm no longer black, me, not black, because it doesn't go along with, because I'm a free thinking person and I'm not intimidated by the way you think. And I really want to hear your argument. But when I tell you your argument back to you, you finally hear it.
Yeah. There's a term that I love called cognitive dissonance.
Exactly.
When you believe something so strongly and suddenly you get a new piece of information that just tears down everything you believed, but you don't want to accept that new information, you somehow try to work that into your original theory,
but when you
in some
sneak
strange type of way.
Yeah, but when you sneak up
no,
on
but you're not really black, you're mixed.
Right, yeah.
No, I'm not. Oh, no, yes, you are, because otherwise my whole argument falls apart.
So then I could do that to him on that one too. So I'm a white guy. You're right.
Let me take this.
You know what I mean?
Let me take this makeup off.
You're right.
That's
the thing. That's all you do. It's like, it's just like we're talking about. Okay, no vaccine. The world's going to be left to you. And so I think that's just a tool that you can use for communication. It's like, okay, this is what you're saying. Okay, I just want you to hear it back, and that's just a technique that has worked for me because like I say, I like to learn. So tell me where I'm wrong, and I'll be like, hey, I'll be the first one to tell you, hey, I was off on that one. Thank you.
Well, we were talking about royalty. The movie Coming to America 2 just came out. What did you think?
I like the title, Coming to America. That was real clever how they did that.
Here we go.
Yeah, that was real.
Here we go. Okay, go on.
Oh man, I'm too close to it, man. I got of course I got relatives that just the fact that Eddie Murphy was doing the movie, that's enough for them. I'm a little like, I'm in the industry, so
right. And you know Eddie Murphy. You know him well.
Yeah, I'm expecting like, oh wow, something that's going to rival the first one. It did what it was intending on doing, but I think my expectations were somewhere else.
Well, I'll say this. The first time I saw it, I was like, it's cool.
You saw it twice. Then
I saw it probably about 4 times.
Okay.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say after about the 3rd or 4th time, I'm going to say it's a classic. I'm going to say it's up there with the first one. And I know this is not the most popular opinion, but I really don't care. After watching it over and over again and catching all the little, the little inside jokes, all the tidbits, the way they brought back the original characters extremely well. Yeah. Extremely well. The 3 old guys at the at the barber shop, Randy Watson, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it yet, just turn off this video. But Randy Watson, Sexual Chocolate doing We Are Family at the end was so good.
Okay. To me, all right, Eddie Murphy's performance on Saturday Night Live, his return, was it was just like the movie to me.
I mean, I can see what you're saying with this.
The things that you want to see him do, the things that you want to see in this movie, delivers. That's true. But that was the expectation.
Well,
and so I guess me looking at being a super Eddie Murphy fan.
Me too.
Super Eddie Murphy fan. I was waiting to be taken to someplace else. And I'm sorry, I thought, and I should know better. Mike, shut the hell up. Especially we're talking about, I don't want to say nobody's names or whatever, but the fact is, I'm going to be honest. I got to face me. Fact is, I feel like Eddie wasn't leading the movie.
He wasn't. You know who actually killed it was Wesley Snipes. You're not going to tell me Wesley didn't kill it. Come on. You going to tell me General Izzy did not kill it?
I'm a huge Wesley Snipes fan too.
And you know him very well.
Yes.
You going to tell me he didn't kill it?
He was really like, shit.
I'm
just, where's that shovel?
Wesley?
Where's that shovel? But I will not lie to my friends. You're my friend. I won't lie to people. And I wish I wasn't saying this in front of a goddamn camera. Oh man, my God. Because these are people who I love. But I got to be honest. Nah, man.
Really?
I wasn't feeling.
Okay.
Wesley, goddamn, here I am, man.
I thought Wesley killed it, and I don't even know him. This is not a personal thing. I've never met the man. I thought Wesley killed it. I also thought Leslie Jones killed it. No, you're not gonna.
Man, I can't believe I'm in this situation.
You're not gonna give it up to Leslie either.
Dude,
I will say this.
When I said being taken somewhere else, I go, yeah, okay. Leslie did her thing. That's Leslie's thing.
Yeah.
That's what I expect. Right? Wesley can do it. Wesley can do it. Fucking anything.
Yeah.
Like that dude. I've been. You know, that's my brother. I guess because I'm too close to this whole thing with the antagonist needs to be fair to some degree, and I'm going, oh, he's the one that is basically holding up the threat to, and so I'm going, he's having a good time, right? So I'm going, oh, I get it, but then, dude, I think my expectation was somewhere the hell else, you know what I mean? So I needed to chill the fuck out and just ride with it. Like you. I think, like you, I need to see it the second time without my damn expectations.
Yeah.
Maybe that is it. Because I was like, I was like that. Because Coming to America 1 brought us to this world. I mean, this one, we revisited the world. And my ass is like too technical. I'm going, those old guys would be dead. They were 80 in the first movie. And so you know, it's like, you know what I mean? So that's just me. That's just me, right?
That's a good point.
You know, I'm too goddamn analytical about shit. So I'm going, they're the same age. They're the same age. Everybody's 30 years older. So that's what I'm saying. Like, but you know,
okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But obviously, you needed to include them somehow.
I need to cool the hell down, and you know, I never smoked a joint in my life, so maybe that's what I should have done. I
mean, I will say this: I felt like, you know, Eddie's son in the movie and his, the Zamundan woman he married. Those two did okay. You know, I can't imagine a Coming to America 3 starring the two of them. I feel like they're not strong enough characters to really pull that off. I remember DC Young Fly was, I guess, up for that role as well, but ultimately didn't get chosen. Maybe he could have done a better job or whatever else. But overall, I thought it was great. It was well put together. A little too many flashbacks, of the original film. But then again, I'm the king of flashbacks, so who am I to talk bad about flashbacks?
You starting to sound like you bringing it down a little bit.
Ultimately, I still think it was a classic, even with the little digs that I have. Overall, I thought it was a great movie. It was a great family movie. Obviously, it's 2021, so they have to make it a little more PC, putting in little messages like, I'm sorry you cannot grab a woman's breast, these days. And, at the very end, they're going to make the princess the queen instead of the prince. So it's all like,
nobody
PC.
could get me like you just did. The way I talk about my hero's movie, like, and actually talk about that. I wasn't crazy about it. And said it in public like that. That's like, oh man, I never learned my lesson, do I?
Well, listen, I still say it's a classic. I know people said it was trash or whatever else. It's not trash. It was actually, I believe, the #1 streamed movie.
Oh God,
in
America. It was the #1. Yeah.
It did extremely well. Yeah. I'm glad they made it. I'm glad I watched it. Everyone pulled off the role. Eddie's wife in the movie. She pulled off a great role. Oh, James Earl Jones, I thought, had a very strong part in it in the beginning. He did his thing. The various cameos were cool. Overall, I thought it was a great movie. For whoever's watching it, who hasn't watched it yet, I would suggest that you do watch it. Honestly, if you love the first movie, you have to at least watch it. Yeah, you have to watch it.
But let me say, the first movie is one of the funniest movies ever. Yeah. I think Coming to America is in my top 3 funniest movies ever made.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. It's a high bar. I get it. I get it. It's a high bar.
This one, I'm sorry, didn't go near there to me. Okay.
I would still put it as a classic. I wouldn't say this is a top 3 funniest movie either. I get it, but it's still, to me, a classic. And like I watched the Randy Watson part so many times at the end. Like I thought it was such a great ending, and I thought it was like kind of a cool family movie this time around.
Yes. I mean, I agree. I agree with those things. I agree, dude. I agree with all of those things. I don't call it a classic. You know, Eddie Murphy's a friend. But I will never lie to a friend. I will never do that. I just don't lie. Period. I think maybe out of my superstition or whatever. But you caught me. I had to say what I believe, and I know it's going to cause some hatred, but it is what it is.
So I actually looked it up on his IMDb page. Beverly Hills Cop 4 has been announced.
Cool.
That should be dope.
Dude, it's a dream come true. Eddie Murphy like reprising these roles, man.
Axel Foley.
There's nobody been like him like since then.
Yeah, because I remember watching this interview with him, and he said that the one thing he did in Hollywood differently was up until Beverly Hills Cop, if you saw a black actor with a white actor in a major film, the white guy was usually running the show, and the black guy's like, all right, cool, boss, where we going next? He was the sidekick. Exactly. He was whatever.
Or but they were scared.
The scared guy. But with Beverly Hills Cop, he's running the show.
And it's been that way ever since.
Yeah, the white guys are all sort of fumbling behind him and trying to figure out his next move, and they don't want to fall for the banana in the tailpipe, and you got all these little classic moments. But honestly, Eddie Murphy is running all these movies.
Eddie Murphy paved the way. Before him, it was Richard Pryor and Cleavon Little and everybody else.
Yeah, but Richard Pryor then had movies like The Toy.
Remember
that one?
But the style wise, everybody was doing impressions of Richard Pryor. It was a scared Negro thing. Oh, please don't hurt me. Cleavon Little was doing that. Charlie Barnett. All the people that were coming behind him until Eddie Murphy was the wisest guy in the room, slickest guy in the room, best dressed. Then, that was like now Chris Tucker, Will Smith, everybody, the sharp and witty and, Kevin Hart. People have been in that Eddie Murphy mold. He created that. Mm-hmm. And it's just been that way ever since. I think he's got more like for our culture. I don't think there's been anybody who's affected our overall culture more than Eddie Murphy in so many ways. Musically, even the ways, when you just said the banana in the tailpipe, people, that is a part of the lexicon of English language or what that means. It could be in a dictionary now. All these just things that came from Eddie Murphy. Like he brought James Brown back single-handedly by imitating him, and then you start hearing Eddie Murphy imitations of James Brown in songs. And it literally brought James Brown back.
Yeah. Well, in an interview that Eddie recently did, they asked him why he stopped acting, and he said he had a string of shitty movies. Mm-hmm. I guess at one point they gave him the worst actor ever Razzie. Mm-hmm. The worst actor of the decade award at one point. And, when you look through his filmography, Mr. Church, 1,000 Words, Tower Heist, Meet Dave, Norbit was pretty good, but that was back in 2007. So you got to go back like 14 years to get a good Eddie Murphy movie.
I remember a conversation I had directly with Eddie at his house. And I remember what I said was, hey man, because my impression, Eddie is a very introspective dude, very serious. He's very deep, really deep. Been around him a number of times, and he's not a clowny kind of guy, him or his brother, right? But I just said, hey, let me just throw it out there because this is what I feel. I said, man, I think you're a dramatic actor, dude. I feel like the essence of your comedy, like when he's playing all those roles of around the table and the Crumps, he's playing those roles from internally. Like he's playing his brother, and these things are not easy to do. He's not playing it from the outside in. He's playing it from the inside out. And I said, man, why don't you do more dramatic stuff? Because I think the role that's really made for you is Martin Luther King. Because I said, man, you have a syntax. You have
Eddie Murphy.
You have
Martin Luther King. I could see that actually,
dude.
I could see that.
There's a way that Eddie Murphy speaks that's similar in the way there's a similarity in a number of things that the Eddie Murphy did. I know at his house, then when I see Martin Luther King, and I go, God damn, Eddie Murphy could kill that. And if he gained a little weight, well,
yeah, you have to gain weight.
Yeah, well, yeah, man, I'm a big fan of his, and I think he can go. I think that dude can win Oscars. And my argument was, I'm like, look, Robin Williams was Mork. Nanu, he's Oscar. Jim Carrey was talking out his ass, doing all those crazy things. Nominated for Oscars. And Eddie Murphy said to me, man, they didn't want to see me do that. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I think from what I see, how solid that cat is, how smart he is. That's why I was happy to see him do things like Mr. Church. Yeah, I think, man, that's closer to what I see in him. Yeah. He's got man, that dude is really deep.
Right. Well, there's Dreamgirls, remember?
Right. Yeah.
He played a dramatic role.
Yeah, he was happy about doing that. But I think that was like one of his first foray into the dramatic stuff, and I was like, I think a lot of times when people are around, like you got your sycophants around, you got people that look up to you, whatever. I've never been that kind of dude. I've always been the guy that's like, I'm gonna tell you the honest truth, no matter what. You don't have to talk to me again. You could be like, yo, I don't want, that's cool. But I'm never going to compromise my values for anything. Some people say I could be further along with than I wouldn't want it that way. So, I'm always going to be straight up. So, that's what I feel and what I said about, to Eddie. And I think he's an amazing actor. I think he's better than he knows he is, personally.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, once they've had so much success in one type of thing, and when you talk about these type of Hollywood projects, this is not just a little skit that he's going to throw together in an afternoon. This requires tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of people involved, big studios, and so forth. You get into a mode, especially he's about 60 years old now? Mm-hmm. I mean, he's had so much success doing one type of thing that, he may not want to just risk it to do something completely different, especially so late in his career. But, especially, like I said, he's done those types of movies and they didn't really go over too well.
I don't know if he's done those type of movies.
Well, I mean, you just mentioned, 1,000 Words.
I didn't mention that. That's a comedy, right? 1,000 Words is a comedy.
Sort of.
Come on, a guy can't talk. Yeah, that's a comedy. I feel like again, if he did Martin Luther King, if he did something on that level.
Okay, so maybe 1,000 Words wasn't a good example, but for example, Mr. Church, that was not a comedy.
No, it wasn't a comedy, but it wasn't. It didn't test him very much.
No.
From what I think, I think that cat is. I think he can handle strong material. We've seen, if you really pay attention, you've seen him in all these different kind of machinations. Mm-hmm. It's like I sound like I'm trying to be Eddie Murphy's manager or something, but from the cat, I feel like I see. I think he, and that's probably why, with the movies, I think he can be so much greater.
Yeah.
Even though he's great. He's in the class by himself.
Yeah.
But I think I think life is all about constantly climbing up. So. Yeah.
You are a great grandfather.
Yeah.
Which you just admitted. Now, we had talked about this. You told me not to mention this in
I
an
did.
interview.
Yeah.
But here you are mentioning it yourself. So at this point, I figure it's open season.
Yeah, well, I was a father at 15.
Yes.
So there it goes.
And you're how old right now?
Yeah.
You're
Let them do the math.
You're not 100.
Yeah, I'm not 100.
You're not 100, which is what most great grandfathers are.
Right.
If they're even still alive.
Right.
I don't think I've had a great grandfather ever in my life, to be honest.
Hey.
I'm trying to think. Not in memory, at least. Like maybe when I was 2 or something like that.
Yeah. Well, my grandson is 22. I think he just turned 22.
Okay, so break this down for me.
Yeah.
You had your first kid at 15.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That child
had a kid at 16.
At 16. Mm. And then that child had a kid at
19, 18 or 19, something like that.
Okay.
So I could have been a younger great-grandfather.
So
yeah.
4 generations of your family were teenage dads.
Yeah.
Teenage dads.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at the end of the day, kids are beautiful. It's great to have kids. But being a teenage father is obviously...
for Planned Parenthood.
Being a teenage father is not ideal, really, ever. Unless maybe you're massively wealthy and it just doesn't matter. But for most cases, as people who are middle class or working class, trying to support a child when they're a teenager, when they don't have a lot of income, when they don't have a lot of stability, is not an ideal situation. Right. You having a child at 15 was not something that you planned out.
No, it definitely was not a plan.
So when you see your kids and your grandkids, and not your great grandkids, but your kids and grandkids repeating your cycle, how do you feel as an elder at this point?
Man, it's when you say repeating my cycle, my first, the oldest son, like basically we were growing up together, and
guys with the club together.
Basically,
trying to holler at the same girl.
Basically, it's. Hey, man, I didn't come into my maturity, my full maturity, until a little bit later, well, much later, because of course when I came out here, as I talked about before, running around thinking that the alpha male thing was to have as many women as you could. I mean, I learned these lessons late, man, when I realized deep down what I really wanted to become. That's another story, but where you come from where you come from, and it's not that strange. Me being a dad at that age was not weird, and so coming up the way I did, I'm part of like 2 different worlds in a way. Like I go back and it's like no time is lost, and I got friends who are still like in and out of prison and doing this and that, and they can remember. They remember things that I've forgotten, and I thought, man, we really did that? I'm so thankful that my life has changed. But yeah, there's certain things that I learned like later on. I can understand because my son being a dad in control of his area, turns out he's gone through, there's some struggles in that area.
Ultimately, you're now a great grandfather. And, the kids are growing up. And was there ever a level of you sitting down with your kids or your grandkids and saying, look, you're going to live your life, obviously, but, if you do get someone pregnant or, if you're a female, you get pregnant yourself, you should consider abortion. You should consider using birth control. You should consider this type of thing, because having a child that early will drastically change your trajectory, potentially. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Now, like, just a matter of, if you want to be in the child's life, that prevents you from going from, Connecticut, moving to Los Angeles to pursue your dreams. You know what I mean? Because now you got a family to take care of. It definitely limits you, especially early on in life. And it potentially, it could improve your life, but most times when you have kids that early, it kind of holds you back to a certain degree. Would you agree with me?
Yes and no. Depends on the individual. Of course, I came from a lifestyle where there were a lot of, Bridgeport, Connecticut, at the time when I was younger,
it's crazy.
We were number one per capita with teenage pregnancies. Just so happens, per capita, Bridgeport. We were murder rate per capita and teenage pregnancy rate. It changed when I left, and I don't claim to be the source, but
you drove the numbers.
Yeah, right. It's a coincidence, but
and those two things I think go hand in hand.
Yeah, but
I think if you don't really care, like I've always felt like, and I think you see this sort of in the anti-vaxxing movement also, is that the people that care about their future and are planning their future are going to make very different decisions than those who feel they may not have a future.
Let me say, like, where I'm from, it's rare for people to be thinking about the future.
Right.
That's just the way it is.
That's what I'm saying.
I lucked out. Because when I was young, I wanted to be like this cat. I don't want to say his last name because now, the responsibility, he may have children out there or whatever. I don't want to say nothing about their dad like this. But there was a cat that I looked up to who was the baddest drug dealer around. And I wanted to be like that. Until I had a gang fight with some Hells Angels and got lost, right? And I was on a bike, and I found myself in a neighborhood, and anybody in Bridgeport knows where this is. Lakeview, it's right near the Beardsley Terrace. It was this community around this lake, and it was beautiful. And I saw a young black couple moving into a house. Devastated. It was on my bike. Watched them for hours. They didn't look like they didn't have a care in the world. From that day on, I wanted to be like those people. Okay? It changed my life. Just seeing those people. I swear to you, I could show you on my phone. I was back in Bridgeport 2 weeks ago. Every time I go back, ever since I was younger, I go by that neighborhood to fuel myself up. That changed my life. Those images. Now I get a chance, and I think I've been saved because I got to be that image for other people now. Mm-hmm. Right? That image changed me. That's what it's about. I understand the lifestyle, and there's a part of that lifestyle that I love. You learn to love with everything you have. That's because that's all you have, right? So bringing a child into this world, I'm never going to say it's something bad. When this is teaching you how to love unconditionally and can make you the best person that you can be. Yeah, it cut your opportunities. Didn't stop me, now did it? Right? Wasn't the greatest father in the world at the time. I was learning at the same time, but it doesn't have to stop you, right? In fact, I used to date women. The way I looked at women who had children, I looked at them as better because they proved that they can put somebody before themselves if they were a good mother. That's why, and somebody who wasn't a mother, I'm like, how do you know, chick? How do you know? You're not tested. When did you have to, where's your rights of, your,
that's true.
Your I guess what's like, rites of passage. You know what I mean? So that wasn't a negative thing. And I will tell my children, as I've told all of them, and I think, now, I educate to where, if you do this, this is the result. But now, what my son tells his son, that's a direct, thing to where his son is following him, who is following me. But I'm not going to judge on that. Yeah, my grandson became a father very early. I'm not going to say that's a negative, but I'm going to make sure he uses that to motivate himself to change his circumstance. You know, I hooked him up with a job. With a friend, and I got friends out there, and he's going to school. He wants to work on his master's and everything else. So nice. He's doing well. Nice. So I just want to make sure he's a good man, and because I mean, sometimes when you don't have nothing, that's why, like with in the inner cities, the things that you do have can be priceless. Your child is priceless. Your music, your friends, and everything else. When you don't have much, you love those things stronger than this. What I see in the suburbs or whatever. It's because the bond is stronger.
Right, but here's the flip side of that. Mm-hmm. Okay, I remember. I think it was in the book The Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell, that he laid this out. In the mid-'80s, there was this drastic drop in crime. And they were trying to figure out where it was coming from. Essentially, the laws didn't really change. Prison structures hadn't really changed. Everything was pretty much the same, but there was a steep decrease in overall crime in the country. And this is what they finally figured out. In 1973, abortion was legalized, Roe versus Wade, where nationally you could have abortions. Mm-hmm. So 15 years later, a large group of children that would have been introduced into America that were not wanted, that were not sustainable, that were not coming into a home that was able to support them and nurture them properly, were suddenly taken out of the equation. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, you had less crime because of that. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Is it because of that?
That's what they say.
That's what they say.
That's what they say. And honestly, it makes a lot of sense. When you suddenly give someone the option to say, listen, if you're not ready for this child, you could abort the child early on in its development.
And you're saying 15 years later, you see the result.
You see the results of that.
Right.
Now, not everyone gets an abortion, obviously. Mm-hmm. Lots of people are against abortion. Lots of people, they get pregnant at 14, by their uncle, they'll still keep it. Like, they'll still raise the child and do their best. Obviously, not everyone gets abortions. But when you give the person the option, say, listen, if you are not ready for this child, if the father of this child does not want to be part of your life, you don't really know him that well, it was a one-night stand, it was a rape, it was incest, it was whatever else, and we have no money, I'm a young mom, I'm still in high school, I have no job, I don't have a support structure, I'm not in a proper situation to raise a child in an ideal state, I'd rather wait until later, so let me have the option to not have a child right now. As a whole, you're going to benefit society by doing that. Those children, you have less of a chance of those children growing up and ultimately going down the wrong path because their parents are not able to really support them properly because they have no other choice. The kid is here, you do your best. The kid ends up in the system, the kid ends up in foster care, the kid ends up with the grandparents, they have issues of mom doesn't love me, dad's not around, whatever else. There's not enough money to go around, no one's watching me, there's no child care, there's no nannies, the schools are rough. I'm forced to find these father figures in other places because they're not at home. Mom's potentially on drugs or mom potentially just doesn't want me. She still wants to live her life and wants to go out and party and wants to pretend like she doesn't have a kid. You take all that away and you allow the parent to say, I'm just not ready yet. I just don't want to have this child right now. You are potentially benefiting the overall situation. That's what I think. Now, I could be completely wrong.
No, well, there's no argument to how you state that. Of course, statistically, and of course that. I mean, if there's less people, less crime, is that what you're saying? So of course, so honestly, it's about education. It's about really learning. And if you have, and I would just want anybody who's going into that or making that decision just have all the information.
There you go.
That's really what it's about. I used to be, it was like abortion, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When I was younger, I was immediately on that. As I've gotten older, I look at things a little bit differently because and that's why I say I would want someone to know everything that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Lil Nas X, did you hear about his newest video where he's giving Satan a lap dance? And he came out with these sneakers that have like, a pentagram on them and have like human blood, like a drop of human blood in the sneaker and everything else like that. You didn't hear about this?
No, not all of that. No,
not all of that.
Dude, man. Okay. Sometimes when I'm scrolling, I go.
You just skip all of that. It's all good.
It's. I think I held on to that for. Does it look like a devil behind? Yeah. It's kind of like, yeah. Just like, hey, it's about a diet, right? If you eat good stuff, you get good stuff coming out.
Yeah.
It's about the diet I bring into my
body. Try to avoid all the
yeah, so I don't bring diet. That shit. That's like, I don't bring that kind of stuff into that's not part of my diet, you know?
Well, it was somewhat an interesting conversation, right? Because he sort of explained the rationale behind it. And Lil Nas X is gay, right? He's out of the closet.
Right.
And the way he explained it was, as a teenager, people around him kept telling him, if you're gay, you're going to hell. The Bible says you being a homosexual, you're going to burn in hell. God hates gay people. Satan, this is Satan's way, and so forth. So he's basically taking all that and kind of turning it around and saying, okay, this is what I had to go through. I'm going to ridicule this somehow.
Okay.
And honestly, I don't really have a problem with it. And everyone is in such an uproar and it's being talked about in churches. And here's my thing. Number one, Satan isn't real. Okay? Let's just put it out there. No one has actually seen Satan. There's no pictures of him. There's no video. People say Donald Trump was Satan. I guess that means that when you die, you get to meet Donald Trump again if you're a supporter. I don't know. I've never been dead, so I can't really tell you. But my whole thing is like, yeah, the Satan with the horns and the red skin and everything else like that, it's not a real thing. It's just make-believe.
Yeah, it's troubling to a lot of folks because you gotta accept the thing as, okay, even theologians, I talked to them about that. I said, do you believe that there's this creature that's described right here?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's more inference. No. There's a description.
Yeah, he's got a name.
But yeah, so maybe even them they know that was a boogeyman that was created to scare people. Earlier people.
Right.
And now it's uncomfortable for them to look at that because if you guys say, oh, that was created, then you might have to say other things were created. And that's not comfortable to a lot of folks.
Right.
And because, I mean, if you think about it, it's like Satan, one being like, well, here's a really thing, the thing that I think is really interesting. Think about society-wise. Our art really reflects society, right? Mm-hmm. Think about doing a movie about Satan right now. 25, 30 years ago, you could do a movie about Satan and have somebody be Satan. Oh, scary and everything. Now you can't do it because why? Where's evil? Now that we've become sophisticated, somebody hacks up a bunch of people, eats their carcasses or whatever, and you go, oh, this person is mentally disturbed. We've become so sophisticated now. We know, oh, this person has an imbalance. He's or whatever. Yeah. Before, if that was 30 years ago, you'd say Satan made him do it.
Right.
So now it's like we can explain away. It's the flat earth thing. Now we know the earth is round. Now we know where this thing that you called evil came from. This is, it has an explanation.
Right. Well, and
so now you go, where's the, it's what I think is drastically interesting. Think about this. In our short lifetimes, we have seen the end of Satan.
Yeah.
Really. In our short life, hundreds of years ago, he existed and everything. Now it's a chilling thing that you go, you still believing that there's a being that's...
Yeah. Well, even, people use the word evil. They say, oh, this guy's evil for shooting up the school, or this guy's evil, the guys who flew the plane in 9/11 are evil, and so forth.
But they had an agenda.
Well, evil is a religious term. Mm-hmm. It's not based on science.
Right.
Someone's not scientifically evil. Mm-hmm. They choose to do certain things, and sometimes there's reasons for it that you could trace back, whether it's bipolar disorder, multiple personality disorder, serious abuse, schizophrenia, whatever else.
But the people from back then didn't understand their own condition, and they could have thought at that time that it was Satan that was making them do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So the whole thing of good and evil, it's just you can't simplify it like this. And when it comes to Lil Nas X making a video where he's giving Satan a lap dance, listen, this is a young gay kid who went through things that I can't really associate with. I don't know what it's like to be gay and to have people tell me that my feelings are wrong and bad and there's repercussions for them. To think that, you go back and churches had therapy to try to get people not to be gay and everything else like that. And listen, I don't know whether people are born gay or whether a set of experiences causes them to have certain preferences and so forth. I've always been straight. I've always loved women. So I just can't really relate. So this kid here, Lil Nas X, he's expressing himself. He's gone through a set of experiences, and a lot of heterosexual, men are bashing him, from, Nick Young was like, oh, I'll never let my kids listen to Old Town Road again. And his response was, Old Town Road is about cheating on your woman and drinking lean. So I don't really know why your kids would be listening to it anyways.
Oh, I didn't know what it's about.
Well, besides just about that, but he's talking about cheating on his baby and drinking lean and stuff like that. And different, Joyner Lucas, another rapper, was kind of, attacking him. And it's like, all right, listen, what he went through is what he went through, and he's trying to express himself, and he's trying to make a point. And at the end of the day, that's his art. He's allowed to express it. I'm not here to judge it. I'm not here to bash him. I think, listen, you want to put that out? Cool.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll help somebody. Maybe it'll help himself. Maybe he feels better now taking that hurt and turning it around.
Hey, whatever. I mean, that's his art. But in the end of the day, I'm too damn old for that. Swipe. You know what I mean? It's like, so it's just like, hey, man, it's like Kardashians doing something. Not in my interest, swipe. So it's just, that's what it is. To each his own, but it's just not my thing. I don't know about these folks.
Well, a few months back, my name was trending for like 2 days because there was a fake article that was circulating that said that my interview with Casanova 2 times was the reason why he's locked up. The article was fake.
Okay.
VladTV is not in the paperwork at all. I went and looked through it all, line by line. They said, oh, well, this one sentence in the paperwork kind of sounds like what he said in the Vlad interview, even though he said the same thing in like 5 or 6 other interviews. But my name was trending. Everyone was bashing me. People like Questlove were doing tweets saying, don't do interviews with Vlad and all this type of thing. It was really nasty. And come to find out, just recently, we actually got the audio from Casanova's bail hearing. And we'll go ahead and play it now. In the bail hearing, the feds specifically name Casanova's interview with Nick Cannon. as part of the reason why they're denying his bail.
Okay.
In the interview, Casanova admits to being part of this gang that he's on a RICO charge with. I forgot what it's called. The Untouchable Gorilla Nation. You know, he's I'm still ape. Like he says, I'm still part of that. So suddenly, you know, there's the cognitive dissonance thing. This whole time, everyone's calling Vlad the feds. Come to find out, Nick Cannon is actually named in the interview for doing the same thing that I do. Now, do I think that Nick Cannon's the feds? No. Am I the feds? No. But if you're going to call me the feds, you need to call him the feds too. Like, you know, if I'm the feds, he's J. Edgar Hoover.
It just comes with your territory, bro.
It comes with territory.
You know that. You know?
I know that. I know that. And ultimately, it's really up to you. When you sit down and do an interview, you share what you want to share. You know, like I'm talking, you know, me and Faisal Love, we're on the phone the other day. He goes, you know, back in my day, he's like, when you did crime, you went to jail. So we didn't talk about our crimes.
Right.
Being in a gang was illegal. So we didn't talk about it.
Right.
You know, maybe this new generation thinks that the rules are different.
This new generation is a lot softer. It's just a whole different thing. And I think what happens is they want that badge, you know? Because you grow up hearing the horror stories or the war stories of the prior generation. And so, you know, they want an excuse to do that same kind of stuff. And, you know, whereas before it was, I just feel like it was, things were rooted in a lot more of honor, you know. There were times when I knew that even somebody from your own clique steps off, you know, like crosses that line of you don't do that to a woman, or you don't do that. This you know, this grandmother, and your own people will take your ass out. Right. You know, that there was a certain honor among thieves in a way. That's not there because of like a younger group is just going to see what happened, the remnants. This person did that, and then therefore they got this respect, and everybody's like, just like when I was a kid, bowing down to the kingpin of the town, right? You don't know why he did what he did, but you know the act. And so kids are stuck with, they know the act and they want to do the act, but they don't know the politics of why it happened. So you got a whole bunch of a younger generation just wanting that badge. They want that stripe, you know, for doing the deed, but they don't understand that there was an honor in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, look, recently I did some interviews where I looked into Tory Lanez' case. You know, the whole Tory Lanez, he shot Megan Thee Stallion. You know about this? No? Didn't hit your radar? Anyways, Tory Lanez, who's a popular rapper / singer, was dating this other popular rapper, Megan Thee Stallion.
Megan Thee Stallion, yeah. I'm
some sort of altercation happened.
Stallion is a male horse.
I know, right? It's weird, huh?
That's what it is.
I know.
I'm sorry, go on.
I know. So apparently there was some sort of altercation in the car, and he pulled out a gun and shot her in the foot.
Who? I'm sorry. Go on.
I wasn't ready for that.
I'm sorry.
I wasn't ready for the shot in the hoof. Shouldn't be laughing at this. This is a very sad situation. Ultimately, a bunch of stuff came out. He's facing 22 years for the shooting. He's officially been charged by LAPD. She went on social media, said that he shot me. And he's mad at me because I'm saying, based on what I know about this case, and I've looked into the case and went through the paperwork, I said I'd be very surprised if he doesn't go to prison over this. You shot a woman with a gun. I don't know how this is like rocket science here. And, you know, he's DMing me and like calling me a cop and a fed and whatever else. And, you know, and recently he put a tweet up, said, hey, I'm thinking about doing interviews, you know, and someone said, oh, you should do it with Vlad. He's like, nah, he's a cop. And I'm like, I'm looking at this going, first of all, it takes a certain type of idiot to consider doing an interview when they're facing 22 years. Mm-hmm. And when the person who they shot has publicly stated that they shot them.
Yeah, but
and you're going to be doing interviews. And he went on Instagram Live and addressed it at one point, and I'm like, how are you thinking that social media somehow negates the law? Or if you get popular on social media, you could somehow beat a case? Or how, like, you really got to be a certain level of moron to even consider doing an interview right now. Because you're facing... essentially, you're about 22 years old. Your entire life might be spent in a prison cell. For moving forward, as long as you've been alive, you may end up being in a cell for that. Do I want him to go to prison? No, I don't know him. But you go and shoot someone, especially a woman, you're probably going to go to prison. How are you going to get around that? But he's sitting there posturing and blaming me and everything else like that. The level of stupidity is just mind-blowing to me.
You weren't expecting logic from that guy, were you?
I guess not.
I mean, see, that's the thing. It's like,
I guess
back
not.
in my day, you shot a woman, you got your ass whooped by your own people.
Yeah. And that's what
It's
I'm
just
saying.
like, come
He's
on,
trying
man,
to defend himself.
You shot it. Okay.
He's
You know what
taking
I mean?
little shots at her, like talking shit about her. And it's like, yo, you shot her. You shot a woman. Fuck wrong with you? Like who respects that? Name one society anywhere on earth that respects a man shooting a woman.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's like, imagine, okay, this guy's getting this fame or whatever. Imagine the generation under him, right? All they know, he shot a woman. He's popular. He's talked about. Now, all they're registering is the act. They don't know why. Mm-hmm. This cat shooting a woman, he's probably looking up to people who did something similar. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, you know, you see it, the degeneration that happens, the lack of just morality and just manhood, just even manhood. Just to go, you shot a woman. And that's okay with you. So just look at that. That's like, it's okay with him. So he's the kind of person, I mean, you know, where'd that come from? See what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah. Keep in mind, Tory Lanez is 5'3", so there's the little man thing going on.
But still,
Megan is actually physically bigger than him.
The roughest dudes I ever met in my life. 3 of the baddest dudes ever were all little.
Okay, well let me
5'5", the baddest cats I've ever met.
Let me say this.
Yeah.
If Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion, who's about 6'10" and probably weighs about 50 pounds heavier than him, if they got in the ring, I'll put $100,000 on Megan to whoop his ass. Absolutely. Absolutely. Megan would beat the shit out of Tory Lanez.
Why would you say that?
When you see the two of them side by side,
yeah,
I would put my money on Megan now.
I would hope a brother has had enough fist fights that he know what he's doing. And women don't have too many of those things. But there I am talking about a little man talking and fighting a woman that calls herself a stallion. Can't believe what you get me to talk about.
It's all crazy. Well, Mike Tyson. A couple of things have happened since last time. Originally, the fight with Holyfield was called off, and now it's back on.
Oh, cool.
You think it's going to happen? Do you think the two of them will actually get in the ring?
I don't know. I don't think Mike should fight Holyfield again. I mean, maybe it's a money thing.
It's definitely a money thing.
Oh, okay.
Definitely. I mean, that's a big payday right there. He got a nice payday off of Roy Jones.
The Roy Jones thing.
That was a successful overall event.
Yeah.
I hope this happens, but he's 0-2 against Holyfield.
Yeah. I think Holyfield ain't no joke.
Yeah. Have you met Holyfield?
Yeah. Yeah. He's still it's not like, I mean, Holyfield still trains, man, and he's no joke.
Yeah, he looks like he's great shape.
Dude, that cat is like he's so solid, man. Like he's just like, there's no joke about Holyfield.
Okay, so if you were to bet on that fight
Holyfield
right now, you would say Holyfield.
Absolutely.
Okay. If you were to bet on, now, if we were to go back in time and I would have asked you to bet on Tyson versus Roy Jones, who would you say?
Back in the day?
Like the recent fight. If I were to say before the fight, who you got, Tyson or Roy Jones?
I would have said Roy Jones, because if he was more Roy Jones,
right,
like as much as Tyson was Tyson, I thought Roy Jones would move and outpoint.
And we talked about this. Yeah, I just don't remember.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
If Roy Jones moved like
Tyson definitely won that fight.
Yeah, absolutely,
100%.
Yeah.
But you say with Holyfield and Tyson, it's going to be Holyfield.
I would think so, because goodness, man, what just the shit that Mike Tyson has to deal with. God, man, it's like I don't wish that on anybody, man. That's the most. He's like one of the most famous people walking the planet.
100%.
When I just think about the burden on that cat, just like leave me the fuck alone for once. Like I wouldn't want to trade that for anything. Like to me, it's like he's got so many distractions, and I just feel like he's being picked at all the time, nonstop, from 20 different directions. Holyfield can he could basically navigate freely throughout the world, and I see him. Holyfield's like very comfortable by himself.
Mm-hmm.
He'll go to events and whatever. He's just like
you want
what I mean?
You want to know what's crazy?
Yeah.
You want to know what's crazy? Since our last interview, I interviewed Riddick Bowe.
Mm-hmm.
Right? At one point, Riddick Bowe quit boxing and became a public bus driver. He drove a bus.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what happened when people get on the bus and be like, hey, man, aren't you Riddick Bowe? He said, not a single person recognized me. The whole time that he drove a bus, not a single person realized that was Riddick Bowe. You throw Mike Tyson on that same bus?
No, you can't. Mike Tyson can't go nowhere, man.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And look, Riddick Bowe had a phenomenal career.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the great heavyweights out there.
Yeah.
And yet, the popularity doesn't even come close to a Tyson.
Yeah, man, but like, would you want that popularity that Tyson has?
Man, I don't want the popularity that I have. That's why I'm behind the camera. Come on, you're asking the wrong person right now. I don't want none of that shit.
Yeah. So, so I'm like, what's the point? Like, this guy has his freedom to some degree. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of balances out in a way.
I mean, it balances out in the way. And honestly, look, when you talk about someone on the level of a Tyson, and you talk about popularity as a whole, popularity often does come with a paycheck.
Yeah, absolutely.
And look, just being...
But happiness, it's got nothing to do with money. It really doesn't. No,
I'm going to have to disagree with you.
Yeah, okay, you can disagree. But, I know a lot of rich, unhappy-ass people.
Oh, I bet you know a lot more poor people that are unhappier than those same rich people.
And
you ask a rich person if they want to trade places with a poor person.
I hear what you're saying, but I know a lot of poor people.
I'd rather cry in the Ferrari than in the Yugo.
I'm saying, like, maybe I'm an optimist, right? But when I drive home and I look at the lights at night, all those houses, thousands and thousands of houses, I think that's the majority of the people are putting their children to bed. They're living their happy lives. They're not making any news because they're living their happy lives. If one of them got murdered, then they'd be on the news.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is this: there are people with their families that are happy.
Yes.
And those people outnumber the celebrities that are rich.
100%. But let's just take a look at your situation.
My situation.
Okay.
I don't have a regular situation.
Well, but we're just going to look at your situation for me to express my point.
Yeah.
Now, you are not a billionaire.
Nope.
Neither am I.
Mm-hmm.
But financially, you're okay.
Yes.
When it's time to pay your mortgage at the end of the month, you're not spending the 3 weeks going, how am I going to come up with this money? When it's time to pay your light bill and your electricity bill, you are not worried about where that money's coming from. When it's time to buy things to support your kids,
I hear where you're going.
You are not stressed out about, my daughter has a birthday party and I can't even buy her a present because I cannot make ends meet. You're
talking about a poor person.
Yes.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that although money does not bring happiness, having money alleviates a large degree of unhappiness and stress.
If you have enough money to live, there's a difference between having enough money to survive, right? Which I think is all relative. Because I could be twice as rich and have twice as many bills, you know? And it's all relative. I'm still living from, check to check or year to year or whatever you want to say. But I think the majority of people live within their means. Right or wrong?
The average American carries an average of $6,000 in credit card debt every month. Okay. The average person. That means that most people do not have enough money to get by. They are spending more than they make, and they're keeping a $6,000 level of credit card debt that has like a 28% interest rate.
But that's all relative. Now people who are richer might have more debt.
As a whole, yes. Some people have debt, but as a whole, let me tell you, I've been broke. I've been homeless.
You're talking
my
to
parents
extremes.
came to this country without nothing.
I get you.
I lived in the projects, in Springfield, Massachusetts.
And what percentage of that of the population is poor?
The official poverty rate is roughly 11%.
Okay, so let's take that. Now you're talking about 11%. Which is also all right.
That's on poverty.
That's a minority. Hold on, wait. Let me make this point.
Poverty means you're essentially you don't have nearly enough to even get by. Okay. Then there's the working poor, which I'm sure is a much higher percentage than that.
Let me make my point. Okay. If we got 11% poverty rate,
1 in 10.
Okay, 1 in 10,
roughly.
You think all those people are miserable?
I think that if you take those people.
By the fact that you're thinking about this, you know that all of them aren't. So when I say
I think
the majority of the people
are more unhappy than people who are actually above the poverty rate. Absolutely,
brother.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you something personal. This is a personal thing for me, right?
Okay.
And this really affects the way I look at the world. And if it's useful to you, take it. If you're not, it was a point where I was, in LA, and I see 30 Mexicans waiting on the side of the road to get picked up to work.
Correct.
And I go, what's to say that dude is not one of the most beautiful people on this planet? Really? What if this guy goes, I basically came to this country to give my children a better chance than I had, right? And he loves his wife's cooking, and he can't wait to get home every day. He loves his children, and they don't have much, but they have each other and a shot. Okay, hey, wait.
I'm going to shoot holes all through the story, but go ahead.
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead.
Now, I don't give a shit if there is a rich movie star who's cheating on his wife and is an asshole, whatever. He doesn't deserve to sit at that man's table. I judge this man way beyond the rich asshole.
Got it.
So what I'm saying is this man who's happily going to work and get picked up or whatever, just because all he needs is this little edge to get his family going, his children, giving them a shot. That dude, in my mind, that's the opposite. That's somebody. I sit there and I go, I got to compare myself to him, because would I bust my ass like that? So that's my favorite person who does that. And so who's to say this man is not from a wealthy, like a beautiful lifestyle?
Yeah, listen, but that particular case, you're talking about in terms of people who are standing on the side of the road waiting to get picked up to do manual labor.
That you don't even look at.
Right. No. Chances are that particular group of people have illegally come over from Mexico.
Well, let's not.
Hold on.
Right, okay.
That group of, I don't want to stereotype, but chances are this is the reason why they're standing on the side of the road is because they can't legally go get a job because they don't have paperwork. And they're coming.
Fine.
And hold on. And they're coming from Mexico, where the standard of living is way lower.
Okay.
So of course they're happy because they're doing way better than they were in Mexico.
Yeah, bro. But
yes. So
everybody does better.
That's an unfair comparison.
No,
of course he's happy.
No.
He's doing better and has more opportunity than he did.
Bruh.
When he
every generation is usually doing better than the one before it.
Not always.
Not always. Is a minuscule, but the majority is. Of course, we're going to say not always, but we're talking majorities here. And when I say the majority of people who there's people who are love their religion and they feel fulfilled with that and don't have money. There's so many people, and I'm just saying, let's look at the fact is there's more of these happy households than there aren't. That's my belief. I really believe that.
Okay.
And I love connecting, and I still have people that I know that's a part of my life that don't have much of anything, but I judge them way beyond some household names that I might talk about.
And what I will say is that you take that same group of people who are out on the corner hoping that some guy in a truck that needs some work done on his house will pick them up and give them a few dollars that day so they can pay their bills. I can guarantee you that if I take every single one of those people and say, listen, I'm just going to put $10,000 in your bank account. Okay, I'm just going to put it there so in case work slows up, in case you get injured, in case you can't do something, you have this cushion to fall back on to help support your family. And I guarantee that all those people will be happier.
Of course.
From that point on.
Of course.
Guaranteed. So when you say money doesn't bring happiness,
no.
I've just shown you that it does.
No. What brings happiness is that person's work ethic and his and their priorities, their morals. That with those on top of money, because the happiness is already the fuck there.
Okay. But I'm increasing the level of happiness. I'm taking away the stress.
No. This is the important. I think this is the reason why we had this discussion.
Okay.
Now, when I say the money doesn't buy the happiness, if that shit is not there, and you got the money, you're going nowhere.
Okay, yeah. I mean, listen, if you're a miserable person, you'll be a miserable person throughout.
But the priorities are the love and the relationships and the.
I get it. I get it.
That's what it is.
But I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at the overall stress level of getting through life when you're barely making it by. And like I said, you throw in, let's just say one of those guys in the corner goes to work on this man's house and ends up injuring themselves and they can't work for a month. See how unhappy that person becomes over the next few weeks when they know as a man they can't support their family. As opposed to the person that says, all right, I injured myself, but I got money put aside and I could pay my bills as I get better. And then I'll get back to work when I'm ready to get back to work. I've seen this. I've seen people go back to work that should not be at work. They're limping, they're hurting, they're barely making it by. They're too old to be working, but they're still. How many people don't have, made poor decisions during the course of their life when they retire and they have to go work at Walmart or they have to go work at McDonald's at 65, 70 years old because they simply don't have it.
Oh, if you think I'm saying money's not good, you're crazy.
Right, because you are not broke, man. You got a nice house, you got nice cars. Your family's well taken care of.
Okay, but what is the one thing? Now let's get it right here. What is the thing that people admire about my lifestyle more than anything?
I don't know. Tell me.
You do know it. Think about it.
admire about your lifestyle?
Why do you see so many people at my house?
Because of who you are as a person, your character.
Do you not see the family?
The family?
That's the thing that people talk about more than anything. They don't talk about my martial arts or whatever. They really talk about the relationship and the environment around my place.
Okay.
The love that's there.
Yeah.
That's what people. That's why it's cool. You know, when we have those get-togethers.
Yeah.
It's cool because.
Hey, your wife is there. Your daughters come in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. What it is. So I'm set with that. That's what makes me wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, now, but I'm saying without the money, I still got that. That's why I'm blessed, right? But of course, hey, if you give us $7 million tomorrow, whatever, we're going to be good.
No, but those divorce rates get higher once you go, into the lower economic areas. You see what I'm saying? Like
well, when you don't have love if you have
love is one thing, but marriage is also, there's a business aspect of the marriage.
If you have love
you have a business partner in your wife. This is why women get alimony and everything else like that. Because people understand that a man's success when he's married is partially due to his wife being by his side. This is why the laws are in place the way they are. If it didn't really matter, then people would just break away and everyone gets to keep what they got. Yeah, but, listen, we can agree to disagree. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. I'm a hippie.
Yeah, it's all good.
I'm a hippie. If you ain't got love, you ain't got shit.
Well, speaking of Mike Tyson, back to this again.
Yeah.
He actually put up an Instagram post where he says, boycott Hulu. He said Hulu's announcement to do an unauthorized miniseries of the Tyson story without compensation, although unfortunate, isn't surprising. Announcement on the heels of social disparities in our country, and so forth and so forth and so forth. Boycott Hulu, corporate greed. It's very interesting because you essentially got your start doing the same thing.
Right.
If there was social media back then, there might be a boycott.
Right.
Michael Giant. Why a boycott? Was it Showtime?
No, it was HBO.
HBO, right. There might have been a boycott HBO going on back then.
Who wants a movie about themselves when they're in prison?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, come on now. Yeah, he didn't want the movie about himself, man.
Right.
It's like he didn't know where that was going to go.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, when you are a celebrity, especially of that stature,
you're public domain.
You're public domain. I mean, even me at the little bit of popularity that I have, I've seen videos of people telling my life story from their perspective that I don't even really know anymore, that I knew them like 15 years ago. We haven't talked in 10 years, but they're telling my whole life story in videos. This is just the way it goes, man.
Yeah.
And it's not like Tyson is broke and he's not compensated for all the other shit he does. But he's saying to boycott Hulu, and that's his right. He could say what he wants, and then Hulu could turn around and do what they want, and so forth. Because because Tyson wasn't happy that you did. Well, I remember we talked about when I interviewed Tyson.
He didn't like the movie.
He said he liked you. He said he liked your portrayal, but he thought the movie was trash.
Yeah, right.
I think that's what the words that he used.
Yeah, I think he said it was trash.
It was trash.
Yeah.
But, obviously, when you're not involved in the making of something about you, it's never going to come out the way you want it and so forth. But I guess that there is an authorized Tyson miniseries that Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So that's finally happening.
Yeah.
I still don't think Jamie's going to pull this off.
He does a great impression of Mike. I've seen him do the impression.
I understand that he does the impression. I just think that physically they're just not similar enough.
Right. I don't know what it's going to call for. I don't know if he's got to get in that ring or whatever. It's a miniseries, right? Or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing it. And
we're all going to watch it. We're all going to watch it.
He really captures Tyson like the way Tyson sounds now.
Yeah.
He does that really great, man. That cat's something else to watch. Yeah, I'm curious to see what it. I mean, is there more juice to be, extracted from that? I mean, this man's story has been just splayed out for so long. But hey, if Tyson's cool with that, then great.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're all going to tune in.
Yeah,
I hope it's dope, and maybe listen, we're at an age now with, what they could do with special effects. Now you could take a 60-year-old and make him look 20. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at, The Irishman. They turned De Niro into a 25-year-old man in that movie. I mean, they could, they could bulk somebody up. They could do a lot of stuff.
Yeah. It's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
There's a lot of money. Yeah.
there is a lot of money.
Basically directed a movie with a lot of special effects in it. So I know, like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. For a moving image, that's a lot.
So there was a high school game in Midwest City, Oklahoma, where the commentator, using a hot mic, which he didn't know was on, referred to some of the players with the N-word.
I think I heard something
fuck
about
them.
that.
I hope Norman gets their ass kicked. He said, fucking N-words and so forth. After this became national news, he basically blamed the N-word on his diabetes. So, based on that, I have come to realize that if we somehow eradicate diabetes, it will remove racism from this world. So I personally think that this needs to be the number one priority. If you want to get rid of racism, white supremacy, Asian hate, whatever else, all you have to do is get rid of diabetes.
That's deep, man.
Yeah.
Hey, start printing up the shirts, man.
Yeah, diabetes will solve everything.
What happened after that? Like, with that kind of craziness, did he get a stint on Saturday Night Live or some shit?
Yeah, I don't know. Fuck that guy.
Like, really? That's. I'm sorry. I really want to hear
Here's
that.
a statement. I, Matt Rowan, on Thursday, blah, blah, most regrettably made some statements that cannot be taken back. I'm a family man. I am married. I have 2 children. And at one time, I was a youth pastor. I'm not only embarrassed and disappointed myself, I'm embarrassed and disappointed my family and friends. While the comments I made will certainly indicate that I am racist, I am not. I have never considered myself a racist. In short, I made these comments, and he blamed them on his diabetes. Yeah. So like I said, just get rid of diabetes. And get rid of racism.
Right.
All in all.
I didn't know that. I mean, that's that thing. Like, we just, I love learning new things.
Right. You just learned that diabetes is tied to racism.
That's, all that Klan. It's just,
apparently all the Klan members have diabetes. I guess that's what happened.
Didn't know till now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fucking amazing.
Yeah. Amazing.
Well, I recently interviewed Jose Canseco. And you guys know each other.
Yeah. When Jose was trying to get ready, he wanted to do kickboxing. Yeah. And we work out, and we hung out for a little bit. Back in the day.
Okay. Because he's had quite an interesting fighting career. Did you see his most recent fight?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he got knocked out in 10 seconds.
Gee.
It was the Rough and Rowdy event put on by Barstool Sports.
Man, that's too bad.
He was matched up with a guy named Billy Football. You want to see the fight real quick?
No, I don't. No, I could imagine. Yeah.
Canseco is 56 years old. When I asked him why he's been taken, because he's had a few fights, most of which he's lost.
Yeah, I remember one a while back. He
fought some football player guy. He lost that, and I asked him why.
His trainer used to train with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I asked him why he's taking these fights, and he said, "I need the cash."
Yeah.
Because in our interview, he talked about making around $55 million in the course of his career, and at one point ending up homeless. Completely broke and homeless. When I asked how that happened, he said, well, he had 2 divorces. Each of them cost about $7 million. He had, he was caught in the stock market crash. I guess he had a whole bunch of risky stocks that he lost money on, and a bunch of bad real estate investments. It's unfortunate. And then of course, when he wrote the book, exposing baseball for the whole steroid thing, then essentially baseball kind of turned its back on him.
Mm-hmm.
So he wasn't able to participate.
Right.
He's never made it into the Hall of Fame. He doesn't get invited to, because I interview a lot of athletes, like Muggsy Bogues.
Mm-hmm.
He still does a lot of stuff with the NBA.
Yeah.
They still, pay him to go to events and so forth. John Sally, he goes to China, does stuff over there. Like, if you're a major player in a sport, you can continue to make money for the rest of your life. And this guy was legend status. Yeah. This is one of the greatest home run hitters ever. But when he turned around and basically shit on everybody, including his teammates like Mark McGwire and he talked about A-Rod taking steroids and so forth. Yeah, it's pretty crazy that he has to now get in the ring and fight, and he ended up having to get both of his shoulders, surgery on both of them after that last fight.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a rough one, man. It's a rough path.
True. I mean, but he's got one thing. He's got fame, which is, that's a currency. Yeah. And he just has to figure out what to do with it. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I paid him to do the interview.
Mm-hmm.
He got a check.
Yeah.
To do that interview.
Yep.
He's
got to get a out of jail free card. Because this fame thing is just, it's amazing. And it seems like that the equity in it is bigger now than it's ever been, because you can be the people that I see that are famous for a little bit of fucking what? So, okay, he's got a head start if he figures out what he wants to do with it. So, I don't feel too sorry. I think he may be in his position now, but again, tying it back to what I was talking about, it depends on what he's living for, what's his priorities?
Wasn't there a story you told me about his ex-wife?
No, I knew. His ex-girlfriend is Chuck Liddell's. Wife.
Oh, okay, got it.
I knew her back then.
Got it.
Yeah. But when I was with Chuck and Heidi recently, over then I realized. So it's like she connected the dots that I knew her way back then. So that's what that was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, apparently, he took some shots at A-Rod during the interview. I guess A-Rod dated his ex-wife or something. There's a whole clusterfuck when it comes to all that.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, maybe he's trying to get A-Rod in the ring.
I'm paid. A-Rod's way too rich for that. Right. A-Rod ain't getting in the ring with nobody.
Right.
A study actually found that Hollywood loses around $10 billion a year over lack of black representation. You heard about that?
10
billion a year. Because they don't do enough black movies, essentially.
Huh. Hadn't heard that.
Do you think that sounds accurate from your point of view?
I haven't studied it. I'd be interested to see where that's coming from.
It actually came. It's an article in the New York Times, a McKinsey report that combined previous research and new interviews argues that concrete steps like company bonuses tied to improved representation can lead to change.
Well, yeah. Of course. I part of what I'm even doing is why I'm producing my own stuff is because there's a lack thereof and a big chasm of entertainment and I believe that in a whole. I didn't do a lot of research or figured out a percentage or whatever or read the article, but yeah, of course, obviously to me that the representation as far as our buying power, I don't think it's commensurate.
Yeah, so the last paragraph in this is, the study noted that Hollywood's unique structure involving unpaid or underpaid apprenticeships, tight-knit networks, small, informal, and temporary work settings, often in far-flung locations, contributed somewhat to the ecosystem's failings. But the report also recognized persistent trends that occur in large corporate settings. Black creatives are primarily responsible for providing opportunities for other Black off-screen talent. Mm-hmm. Emerging Black actors receive fewer chances in their career and have a lower margin for error. And there is little minority representation among top management and executive boards. The film industry, the authors concluded, is a less diverse one than even typically homogenous sectors like energy and finance. The margin of error thing is interesting. Basically saying that if you make a black movie and you mess up, you'll never get another chance to make another black movie.
Well, we don't have as many chances at that.
Yeah,
that's what it is. And it's yeah, I know that. That's one of the things that that's why when I've been basically doing my films with an overseas market in mind, because you got to look at it as throughout the world. When there was a belief that black films didn't sell overseas, well then there was a lot of black movies were vetoed because of that excuse.
Well, yeah. I mean, in the same article, it says, according to the study, the average production budget for films with a black lead or co-lead is a quarter less than the budget for films with no black actors.
Right.
One creative executive, who spoke anonymously, said that when executives are looking for black content, they're looking for Wakanda or poverty with no in-between.
This is true.
Added one anonymous black actor, I have to take stereotypical works because that's what's out there. But then when I take those roles, they say that's all I'm capable of. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Well, that's a thing. Pigeonholing is something that every person, black or white, is going to have to deal with. Of course, I have to deal with it. I'm this guy. I'm the karate guy. Oh, I'm in one faction. Oh, I'm the romantic comedy guy. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's just how the world has to put you, right? I could be talking. I have 7 movies coming out. All right, all are very different, but the majority of my movies, even though a third of them I've been in martial arts and action, a third of them have been that. But you ask the average person, that defines who I am, just because that is a specific thing that gets a lot more attention. But it's not, it's not clear. It's not representative of my career.
Yeah, I mean, because you look at these really interesting hit projects, like for example, Hamilton, right? If you were to tell me 30 years ago, there's going to be a Broadway show about a bunch of white politicians from the 1600s that's going to be played by all black actors. It's going to be the biggest thing ever on Broadway. You say it just like that. It's kind of like, I don't know. And you want someone to finance that? I don't know. And look, it became the biggest thing ever on Broadway.
That's what's beautiful about it, because it made, so you have something that you have these ethnicities in it, right? But yet you made the subject matter universal.
Nothing about the actual ethnicities.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what it's about.
Yeah, like Bridgerton.
Yeah,
another
exactly. One. And I love that this is happening because it's showing that it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's in the face of, oh no, you can't put a black person in this. Now you do it and you see that it doesn't matter. And again, not that we keep talking about my damn self, but I know my damn self. But most of the movies I do, really why I'm here is the majority of the movies that are the most successful are global, because like if you The Hard Way, Falcon Rising, all these a lot of movies that I do, you realize I don't have to be a black guy in it. I just happen to be a black guy as a lead in the movie.
What's
Blood
your single?
Bone, the most successful movies.
The most successful film is what? Blood and Bone?
Worldwide, Blood and Bone. Yeah, like
Spawn.
Yeah, like all of these. This has nothing to do with my ethnicity.
Although Spawn was a black comic book character,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
you're right. No, you're right. It doesn't. If he was a white Spawn,
exactly.
Kind of wouldn't.
So
really
it flies
matter.
in the face of the prejudice that a black. It doesn't fucking matter. A movie that I have coming out called Send It. The trailer just went out.
Right.
Okay, I play the father to a white child.
Yeah, you told me about this.
Right? That's like the first time I ever heard of this ever happening. A black man is playing a father to a white child.
Yeah, although I have to say, I got to play devil's advocate real quick. My favorite movie of yours is Black Dynamite. And unfortunately, that is not a movie that you could just make white.
Right. I skipped over that one.
You had to skip over that particular one. Black, you cannot do a white. You can't do white Dynamite.
Right. Yeah,
or Asian Dynamite.
I didn't.
Or Spanish Dynamite. It just will not. It will not work. It will not happen. I'm sorry. That had to be a black film with an all black cast. Yeah, you could not.
I skipped over that and Tyson. You know what I mean? So, but what it is that there it fights the racial stereotyping that was told to me early on that black movies don't sell, and we need a white, like I think I told you before in another interview, I had executives asking me to help them find the white me. Yeah. And you see where Scott Adkins, that's a very close friend of mine. A lot of times I'm like, well, Scott is, I suggested Scott for things that he, ended up doing. And, for Scott's blessings or whatever, but that's the way that the world looked at it, But my thing was, I'm going to be on the inside so I could change that shit. And I did.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when Eddie Murphy was doing his promo run for Coming to America 2, one of the things he mentioned that kind of started to circulate was that he was essentially forced to put Louis Anderson in that film because they felt it was too black of a film. They needed a popular white actor.
Well, there was probably a 70-year-old white guy who made that decision. Yeah. There's still people that are going, okay, I got to throw my shit in there. And everybody, even though the most ludicrous argument, they have some stake in reality. They'll take a modicum of what they're talking about because it worked here, here, and here. Mm-hmm. And they'll defend it, just like you were defending your story with me. Yeah, but no, I'm messing with you a little bit. But the fact is, they're gonna go by some analytics that, and it could be archaic analytics that in this situation the black movie didn't work because you think about, because you can get into the whys, like say Red Tails. Red Tails didn't work. It's an all black movie, right. And big time producer, George Lucas. Amistad. Oh, that didn't work. That's the biggest. Or
you could just say those weren't great films. How's that?
Thank you. That's the thing. So it's like Red Tails. Oh, about the Tuskegee Airmen. Yeah. About some black pilots. But see now, Titanic was about a story that we knew about, and how it's going to end. But they gave a love story about class, two classes, and you go, oh, that's what this movie is about, is that love story. But sometimes they go, oh, here's a story about these black pilots, and that's what the damn story is about. That's it. We're not giving you any shit beyond that. Yeah. And if it were white pilots, we wouldn't give a shit either.
Right. That's the point. It'd be the same mediocre movie. Don't do it
just because it's black. Right. Give us a story. Yeah. Then we could go from there.
I remember watching this documentary on George Clooney. And this really changed my perception of films as a whole. He said, when it comes to a film, if you have a great script, a great director, great actors, and a great director of photography, you have a chance of having a great film. You take away one of those, you have a mediocre script, you have no chance of that film being great. Doesn't matter who the actors are, or who directed it, or how great the cinematography, or how much money you spent on special effects. You
could have a successful one, it may not be great though.
It won't. I'm talking about a great film. Now, I'm not talking about financially successful, because there's lots of successful films that are not very good. But, right. They have an audience. Yeah, I'm talking about a great film. Mm-hmm. So it's easy to say, hey, this film wasn't great, and it's because it's an all-black cast, when the reality is you had a mediocre script. Yeah. And you can't get around a mediocre script, no matter who you have.
And the advertisements about it.
The advertisements
because if you're showing, because I've seen this too many times, it may be a black movie, or a movie with black people in it, and they're not offering anything other than there's black people in this movie. That's not enough.
That's not enough. Yeah.
Because you don't do it like where, oh, here's a movie with white people, and you're just going, there's white people in this movie. You're showing what the movie's about. There's something that everybody's humans, they got to connect to something. Mm-hmm. But when there's movies that they just pandering just to a black audience and not showing you anything else about what this movie's about and why I should care, and then that movie dies.
Yeah.
It's sad because because it being black is a culprit a lot of times.
Right.
When it's not about the storytelling, which is the problem.
Right. Because I remember one of my favorite films, I could definitely say this is one of my favorite films, The Five Heartbeats. Mm-hmm. I interviewed Leon, one of the main actors in the film. And he said right before the film came out, I think New Jack City had just dropped, and there was a shooting in a movie theater.
Oh boy, yeah.
So remember that?
Yeah,
remember that?
Yeah.
So then all the film studios kind of got a little nervous about black films. They didn't want another shooting, so they essentially pulled all the advertising away from the Five Heartbeats. Yeah. So the movie essentially flopped in the theaters. And only years later, from it being on HBO and on, VHS and whatever else, people finally caught on afterwards that, hey, this is a classic.
Absolutely.
But because for whatever, in this particular reason, the studio decided not to pull the trigger on advertising, nobody even knew that it was out. Yeah. So it had a horrible first week. It got pulled from the theaters quickly. And if it wasn't for the reruns, essentially, nobody would have known about it. Yeah. And everyone would have missed out on a great film.
Absolutely.
Great film. Classic. One of the best films out there of any genre.
That's true.
Great acting, great directing, a great script,
story,
great cast, great music.
Moral, everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
It was historical.
Everything. Yeah. Everything, man. One of the best, me being able to even talk to some of the people involved in it was like, wow. This was such a great film.
Yeah. Yep. You can watch that anytime.
Right now.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Michael Jai White, always a pleasure, man.
My
Until
pleasure.
next time. And listen, I'm going to say this on film. I guess Black Dynamite 2 is starting up. I need to be in that film.
Well,
you could give me whatever role you want. I don't care.
Okay, brother.
If you want me to shave my beard, lose some weight, gain some weight.
All right.
I will be in that film. I already missed out on being on Outlaw Johnny Black. That's okay. I can skip that one. But Black Dynamite 2, I love the first one.
Thank
you. I need to be in that second one.
All right.
I need to be. I don't want to get paid. I don't care. Need to be in it. Just like when I was in the Boondocks, I could hold on to that for the rest of my life and say I had a a character being myself on the Boondocks is one of my one of the feathers in my hat. I need to have a character in Black Dynamite too.
There it is.
Okay.
All right.
We got it on film. It's like a contract, pretty much.
Okay.
I'm gonna sue you if I'm not in it. All right.
All right.
Until next time.
All right.
Peace.